Hi, I'm Cliff Fiedler. I'm with Americans United for Separation of Church and State. I'm a chapter president in Nashville, Tennessee, and today I'm sitting at the table at the National Now Conference passing out literature. Americans United for Separation of Church and State is a group of people founded in 1948 where we try to keep the church and the state apart. We have members that are both clergy and atheists. It's one of the few places where they meet. And again, what we try to do is lobby the state and federal governments to try to pass laws that protect the separation of church and state rather than try to fuse church and state. There are too many places in this country where, for political purposes, you have politicians pandering to the religious right. They believe that law should be based on the Bible rather than simple common sense. And it's unfortunate because their interpretation of the Bible is frequently anti-women, anti-minority, anti-poor people, and I don't believe that it helps us in America when we make laws that follow that form. We have a number of specific issues. Right now we're fighting vouchers in almost every state in the country. The other kinds of laws that we do fight are laws that control women's reproductive rights, because the religious right, quite frankly, doesn't believe that women should have any reproductive rights. It's very bad. We fight having creationism, the biblical interpretation of how life came about on earth. We fight that being taught as science. We believe in actual science, not in the Bible as being the only definition of the way the world comes into being. Now, interestingly enough, we have both ministry and we have atheists in the organization. It's one of the few places where they meet on an equal basis. And they both agree that what we need to do is keep the church apart from the government. Do you edit this?
No, I don't. Sorry. Somebody will later, but not when it's live. No.
Not when it's live, okay. We feel that tax money, for instance, should not be going to support religious education or churches. So if there's a church, even if they're a historical landmark, we don't believe that tax money should be paying for the maintenance of the church or repairs to the church or to pay for religious education. You know, that gets into the vouchers, because in most states where they pass voucher programs, now, by the way, when I say they pass voucher programs, that's always been done through a legislature, not through a popular vote. Every single time in America that vouchers come up for a popular vote, they're turned down because 60 to 70% of the people everywhere in America do not want vouchers. So every voucher program you've got was pushed through a legislature that was controlled by Republicans. Big surprise. We're not supposed to be partisan, but we find that the other side is always of one party. We hardly have any Democrats who want to make religious schools eligible for voucher money. Let's see, what are some of our other portions? The right to vote, for instance, is up for grabs at this point. We don't specifically fight against registration requirements and ID, but we're well aware of what a problem it is, since those laws they discriminate against many of our own members. So although it's not a specific church-state issue, we're well aware and we support those who are fighting the current registration requirements, which are simply an attempt to restrict Democrats from having the ability to vote. We don't favor disenfranchising constituencies. Now, you could become a supporter of Americans United. You can go to their website, which is au.org. There's a lot of really good information that's on there. They can tell you how to join, how to find a local chapter. By the way, the Southern Poverty Law Center has noticed that Focus on the Family has listed Americans United among the enemies of Christianity. They actually put us on the map. My local Nashville chapter is on their map of people who are anti-Christian. Now, that would be news to the Baptist ministers that we have in our organization because we are not anti-Christian. We are not anti-religion at all. In fact, the head of the organization is both a lawyer and an ordained United Church of Christ minister. So anybody who tries to make Americans United out to be atheists exclusively is simply wrong. We do have atheists in the organization. We have approximately equal numbers of ministry in the organization. What else can I tell you about AU? Local chapters are all over the country. They're in all 50 states. They have meetings and they discuss strategies and work out programs to go and let their legislators know how they feel, which of course is the aim of most lobbying organizations, including now AU. Your own organization, for instance, is
Yes.
awesome.
And while we're here, I want to make note that please put us down as a supporter of your work, our website, and our organization. That comes most appreciated. And you had mentioned earlier that if I had any questions, I should ask them. And I have one burning question right now, and that is the Hobby Lobby ruling. What do you have to say about that?
Terrible, terrible. Where a corporation is allowed to express a religious preference. This follows the decision that corporations are people. You heard Mitt Romney say that. And in fact, in a legal sense, it's pretty near absolute truth. Corporations do have essentially the same status as people, and apparently now we've extended to those corporations the right to have a religious preference directly. I am terrifically against that. To me, corporations are not people. They're fictitious entities that are created for economic and business purposes. They should not be allowed to have a religious preference. What you've done is allow the people who control the corporation to extend their personal religious preferences to everyone working for that corporation. This is a huge mistake. I'm hoping that a later Supreme Court will overturn that. I hope I live long enough to see that happen. It's very bad. Corporations are not people. They are controlled by people, and then they control, in turn, other people. And the people that they are controlling should not be forced to follow the religious dictates of the majority owner.
Well, I'm going to quote a dear friend of mine by the retired Bishop of New Jersey, Episcopal Church that is, Bishop Joe Morris Doss. He joined in on a phone call because I meet with senators and representatives across the country at the federal level, right? And as he said to them, and I'm paraphrasing him, but it is pretty much what he said, we do not want the church telling the state what to do. You're on very dangerous grounds, for that means the state could tell the church what to do.
That's
when
correct.
you start mixing church and state, as has been done in the Hobby Lobby, and we see it ever growing, such as in the Walmart versus Dukes case, where women were denied fair pay because of the ERA not having passed, and therefore no ERA, sexual discrimination cannot be upheld as a class action. It is now being cited as primary authority to dismiss cases being filed by men. So when we have such issues cross-mixed that go against the various early concepts of what we desire to be, we are walking on dangerous ground. And we have come along far enough in this country that the Equal Rights Amendment needs to be in the U.S. Constitution. We no longer have slavery, and we now need to have women included in the Constitution.
Yes. We need the contributions of women. They make up 50%, maybe 51% of our population. To treat them as anything other than exactly and completely equal is a terrific mistake.
Yes.
They have things to contribute. Why the men have had control of things politically for long enough, and they've made a mess of it. We should be trying to see if the women can't do a little bit better than the men, and I believe that they can. I believe that even the conservative women are better than most of the conservative men.
Well, I guess what I like about conversations is that I have a slightly different opinion there. I think that men and women both have much to contribute, but because of the imbalance of power, we have problems.
You bet.
You see what I'm saying?
You bet.
So it's not so much that women will do a better job, but without them having an equal voice, we have imbalance of power.
And they absolutely do not have an equal voice in our national Congress, for instance. I believe we're only up to about 20% women at this point.
Yeah, so that's why I feel that the Equal Rights Amendment will do the following things. One, it will empower women through the gender pay gap, which is the hidden face of racism, demonstrated by white women getting 78 cents, black women getting 67 cents, and Latinos getting 53 cents. When you have such differences, did I get the numbers wrong?
Well, I'm not sure about the numbers, vary a little bit, but
Yeah.
you know that was the original reason for founding NOW, is to go for gender pay equality.
Right. So we have the gender pay gap. And then because of Walmart versus Dukes, we need to reaffirm the rights of men, because when you oppress one, you oppress all. And then finally, we need a constitutional amendment for our brothers and sisters in the LGBTQ community, because if we don't have that in place, as more issues arise, as we accept them as a normal part of society, as they are normal, we need that constitutional amendment in place so that there's something to rely upon and that we have teeth when those issues are addressed.
Yes, I'm not gay myself, but I have a number of friends who are. I've never heard about a decision. I've always heard about a process of discovery.
Yes.
They are, from my religious standpoint, the way God made them.
Correct. Whether created or made, they are accepted.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're on the same page. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. I hope that you announce our walk and get people to join up. I'm going to pull back.
Good luck.